The Māori name for Franz Josef Glacier is Ka Raumata o Hine Hokotere, translating to the Tears of the Avalanche Maiden. According to legend, Hine Hokotere loved climbing in the mountains and persuaded her lover Wawe to climb with her. When an avalanche swept Wawe to his death, Hine Hokotere was devastated and her tears flowed down the mountain. Rangi the Skyfather took pity on her and froze them to form the glacier we see today. While in the town of Franz Josef, we stayed at the Orange Sheep Campervan Park, which is a stone's throw away from the centre of town. The campsite itself has both powered and non-powered sites available, with plenty of clean facilities.
We made our way to reception where we got checked in and waited for the rest of the group to arrive. The guide then took us to the gear room where we got kitted up for the trip. If it's warm in summer, it doesn't get too cold up the top. However, we still appreciated the layers and thick boots they gave us. After being carefully weighed, which is very important for the safety of the helicopter flight, it's a 15-minute walk through the bush to the helipad. We then piled into the helicopter and took off to the glacier.
Once you've been dropped off on the glacier, safety equipment is handed out in the form of a harness and crampons. The guide then takes you on what is described as the hardest part of the walk, up towards the section of the glacier we would be traversing. It wasn't a hard walk though, in case you guys were wondering, so don't be scared. Franz Josef and Fox glaciers are pretty famous in New Zealand and have been on my bucket list to visit since I was a kid. Fair to say, I was more than excited for this part of the holiday.
Franz Josef is the fourth largest glacier in New Zealand at about 10.5 kilometres long, and Fox is the third at around 12 kilometres long. They are both found in Westland Tai Potini National Park on the west coast of the South Island. The walk was unbelievably cool. I mean, we were on a freaking glacier. From what I understand, there are many different routes through, which makes sense as there are many tours going on at once. The route we took had these beautiful hallways made of ice, never-ending holes which would be terrifying to fall into, and a fun ice stairs section which I enjoyed.
Good?
Yes.
Yeah.
You may have noticed the darker bits on the ice. We weren't too sure what this was, but our guide explained that this was actually soil and sediment that's from the bed of the glacier. As it moves, it churns up the sediment and brings it to the surface.
It's a spectacle to see, but the history of the glacier and how it stands today is also interesting. Between its first official mapping in 1893 and a century later in 1983, the glacier had retreated 3 kilometers up the valley. After 2008, the glacier sadly entered a rapid phase of retreat, shrinking by 1.5 kilometers between 2008 and 2017. Based on these patterns, it is predicted to lose 38% of its mass by 2100.
Franz Josef Glacier currently terminates 19 kilometres away from the Tasman Sea. Near the end of the last ice age, about 18,000 years ago, it extended to the present-day coastline or even beyond.
In 2012, the terminal face of the glacier collapsed, now making it too dangerous to approach. Visiting the glacier now requires a helicopter flight, unless you're fit enough for the 8-hour hike up Alex Knob.
This was for sure the most expensive day we had planned, but it was 100% worth it. The feeling of seeing the glacier reveal itself to us on the flight up was like no other, like entering another world. We loved every minute of it, and we'll definitely be back to explore Fox Glacier next time. We booked this experience through Get Our Guide, and it cost £300 for the two of us. We highly recommend shopping around. There's so many different packages you can get.
We would also like to point out how lucky we got with the weather. We literally only set aside 2 days to get this trip in and crossed our fingers that the weather was fine. There are so many horror stories of people spending an entire week trying to get good enough weather to go up and ending up with a refund and no glacier. Do try and give yourself a few days here, as the weather can be chancy and you don't want to miss out. On a bit of a tangent, Lucy and I really love Kias, and they're probably our favourite bird in New Zealand. They seem to be so full of personality and are apparently super cheeky in nature too. Sadly, we didn't get lucky enough to see those guys up close in the area. However, did see a few pairs in flight around the town centre. That's it from us. Next time we are rolling down the west coast even further, stopping in Greymouth, Hokitika and finally ending up in Westport. If you wish to keep up with our adventures, please consider subscribing. It really means a lot to us. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.